Commercial air travel has stayed largely the same for decades, as many of you are familiar with, but we could be on the brink of radical changes thanks to a Kirkland company developing hybrid electric airplanes.
Yeah, so we first told you about this a couple of weeks ago when Boeing and JetBlue announced a really big investment in Zunum Aero. They're a Kirkland-based company, as you mentioned, and now we're joined by the company's CEO, Ashish Kumar. Thank you for being here. Tell us what it is that you want to build and what you're doing here.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. It's so great to be here. We are building 10 to 50 seat regional hybrid to electric aircraft that'll get you where you need to go 2 to 4 times faster and for a lot less than today.
How could hybrid electric airplanes in general like this potentially impact overall air travel?
Well, the air travel today and the air system of today is purely it's purely the outcome of the economics of the jet engine, where larger aircraft are more cost efficient as are flights over longer distances. And what that's driven is a 70-year shift of the airlines to large aircraft, longer ranges, and to a smaller set of high volume hubs that can support and have the demand to fill these planes. And what that's done to our air system is, at this point, we have 96% of our air traffic in just 1% of our airports. And we've kind of gotten used to that being normal, but that's really kind of an unnatural state. And that's only exists because nothing smaller than can compete. Right? And this is where the hybrid electrics come in. They level the playing field. And for the first time, since the start of a jet age, you're going to have smaller aircraft that can, on these regional legs, stand up to a large airliner.
So let's talk about kind of how you envision this. This would be going to maybe a smaller airport and then flying to another smaller airport and maybe doing it quickly and not having to worry about all of the...
Yeah, where are we going?
Give us some examples of what this could look like.
And some of it is actually, if you rewind it back to the 80s and 70s, this is how we used to travel. I mean, that's why one of the reasons we have so many airports out there is, so it is much, we think it's going to be much more like boarding a bus or a train, where you drive to a nearby airfield. You may or may not go through security. You walk to the plane, check in plain side, and walk into the cabin and sit down with your bags. And kind of do the reverse when you arrive at the destination. And that's what gets you these, door-to-door times that could be as low as a half or a quarter of what you do today. So you could get from Seattle to Vancouver or Portland, door-to-door in an hour and a half to 2 hours, where today it would take you 4 or 5 hours driving or through SeaTac. And for, we think under $80 round trip, where it might cost you 4 times more today.
So as of now, I'm sold. I'm signing up. I'm boarding the plane. But then the realist in me says, wait, how much does this cost? Like, what are we thinking as far as what fares might look like down the line?
Well, so the Seattle to Portland, we think, is about $80 round trip.
Huh?
Yep. You could fly to Cannon Beach, fly into Seaside for, we think, or that's a smaller plane, costs a little more, but it'd still be $100 round trip. And you get there from your home in Seattle and be there watching the sunset 2 hours later.
I love this. How soon can we do it?
Tomorrow?
What's your timeline?
Yeah, so this is what's known as a Part 23 aircraft. So when people think of an aircraft, they think of big airliners that take a long time to develop. Part 23 is under 20 seats, is our first aircraft. That typically runs 3 to 6 years. So the dates we've announced is the early 2020s. And we are racing to do that as soon in the 2020s as we can.
So that's like 3 to 5 to 6 years away. That's not far away.
No, in the aviation industry, it's kind of a blink of an eye.
Wow.
This is sooner than light rail. Like, I'm used to somebody announcing transportation, and it's like, I hope I'm still alive when that's around, but I'm going to hopefully be alive for this one. That's exciting. What's next? If you're looking down the line, where do you hope to see this growing to?
Well, one of the reasons we've been in stealth for the last 3 years. And so there was 2 reasons for our announcement. One was to attract talent, and the second is to start working with partners to, hold hands and build this thing. The build is really kind of, you build prototypes of the major systems, which is what we're doing right now, both here in Kirkland and also out east in Illinois. And you kind of just develop and test them in cycles through 3 or 4 or 5 iterations till you have something that rolls off the assembly line. So it's a ton of building. It's a lot of traditional aero work, structures and aerodynamics, but also it's a lot of heavy electricals. People from the wind turbine industry, people that do actually heavy-duty aircraft electricals like on the 787 or the F-35. And there's a bunch of software in there.
And then hybrid electric on top of it. I mean, we might cut down on some carbon emissions and, I mean, those kinds of things that might be the solution.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think the thing we spotted really early on that's just an offshoot. I mean, you don't need tax credits. You don't need, green incentives here. This is around cost and mobility. And this is the reason people are going to move to this kind of transport for regional distances. And the benefit to the planet is just an offshoot. And the reality is, if you look at commercial aviation emissions, about 40% of them are generated over short haul. And we think those could be brought down to nearly zero in 20 years.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And we know, as we mentioned earlier on this show, Boeing and JetBlue obviously believe in it. So they've already kind of bought into
invested.
this.
So thank you for being here. Help us kind of understand this. Please keep us posted.
Of course.
Yes.
We would like to see this as it develops and have you back on the couch and talk about this.
Thanks so much.
Save us a seat, please.
That's very awesome. Thank you.